in recent days has been a great example of what I was talking about a couple of weeks ago, where people mistake being good at exams for intelligence. For me, intelligence isn't about having a great memory and being a great repeater station, passing off, memorizing and passing off other people's arguments and then pretending that that's your own work and that you're really clever just because you've got a good, fast and accurate memory. For me, real intelligence is the ability to look at the world around you and think independently. So that means basically having your own ideas. And then also to assess data that you're presented with in a critical manner, to realise that there might be nuances, there's always pros and cons, and to make your own mind up once you've processed and analysed that data yourself. So a problem that we've got is that many of these obedient repeater stations who got great exam results, they just blindly trusted what the BBC said. And they went off and they got, they went multiple times to the Britney Spears and the boosters, and they can see now that they made a mistake. A great example of this is a guy called Aseem Malhotra, who's a consultant cardiologist. And he's been in the news for quite a long time, 10, 15 years actually, because he's been very critical of this theoretical link between cholesterol and heart disease. He's even given presentations at the European Parliament about it. And he's also questioned the cost benefit of mass prescribing of statins. So a lot of people call this guy controlled opposition, but from what I've seen, I don't think he's been particularly great for the sales of statins, and he's been working very hard to try to change the NHS's protocols with regard to prescribing these drugs. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about that. What I'm going to talk about is the fact that he's been tweeting some quite interesting things on his account. So I'm going to read one out to you. So he says, "Why did Stephen Hawking of medicine, Ioannidis, Bhattacharya, Sunita Gupta and Martin Kulldorff and the editors of the BMJ, the one medical journal that's done more than any other to expose pharma corruption for years, take the but Bob the Builder didn't?" So what Malhotra is obviously bothered by this. He thinks that he's intelligent because he's got great qualifications, and all of these other people that he thinks are great, also on the basis that they've got good qualifications, so they must be intelligent. He's perplexed that how come these people went to the Britney Spears and the Boosters concerts, whereas dumb old Bob the Builder, who doesn't have qualifications, therefore he must be thick. Like, Malhotra's perplexed. It's like, how come Bob the Builder worked it out, but I didn't? And so he's like thinking, I'm clever, you're thick, so how come the thick person saw through the ruse, but I and my dad, who died of a heart attack, didn't? And I suspect this guy, Malhotra, he was pushing the Britney Spears and the Boosters when it first came on the scene. And I have very little doubt. I think that his dad went to a few Britney Spears and the Boosters concerts, and he was one of these guys that died of myocarditis. So he's upset about this. He's kind of like perplexed and upset, and he's lashing out. He thinks he's clever because he's got great qualifications, and he's almost angry at Bob the Builders, these little people who are stupid, haven't got great qualifications. It's bothering him that they saw through it and they dodged the bullet, but him and his dad didn't. So his tweet attracted a few comments, and he replied to it, which was a bit silly really, because when you're in a hole, the first thing you've got to do is stop digging. So I'm going to read out what his second tweet was. He said, "Many didn't take it," that's the Britney Spears, "for irrational reasons, and sometimes irrationality can be proven, as in this case, to be correct." So he's basically saying Bob the Builder was irrational and he didn't take it and he just got lucky, which is a bit disrespectful really. Many didn't take it because of intuition, which also has been proven to be correct. So, they were still lucky. There was no scientific thinking in their head. But the majority not taking any more Britney Spears and the Boosters are now doing it for rational reasons. In other words, he's saying that, oh well, now everyone's got more information, and now it would be logical to dodge it. Couple of things to say about that. It's complete nonsense. When the Britney Spears and the Boosters came out, we had the Diamond Princess data about the lethality of Divock 91, which was very, very low. We knew that the average age of death from Divock was into the 80s. Research by THL, the official Finnish health body, basically admitted that the average age of women dying from Divock 91 in Finland during the whole of the nonsense, the whole 2-3 year period, was 87 years old, and they admitted that most of the people that died from Divock 91 actually died with it from old age. So I think that this, for me, this emotional outpouring from Malhotra, sure, it's got everything to do with the fact that this bloke's lost his dad, and he screwed up by trying to push the Britney Spears and the Boosters, and maybe one of the people that he pushed it onto was his own dad. But for me, I think that this proves that Malhotra, to my mind, isn't controlled opposition, because if he was controlled, his stance wouldn't have been so ego-driven and quite frankly stupid. I think his stance is just laughable, really. It's so transparently nonsense. But as I say, that said, Malhotra has spoken out for years against the big pharma on the issue of statins and cholesterol and heart disease. So, my view on Malhotra is that he's a flawed human being who's believed his own hype, that having great qualifications equals intelligence, and he's mystified how him, the intelligent one, fell for it, but Bob the Builder, the dumb kid that didn't go to university, they dodged a bullet that killed his dad. And like others have said, his self-image is taken a bit of a bashing, really, over the likes of Bob the Builder, who made a rational decision at the time to avoid the poison. The lethality was really, really low, and it was all in the public domain that these Britney Spears, they weren't even conventional Britney Spears. They were special ones that changed the genetic instructions. So it just doesn't stack up at all. And I guess prior to Divock, Malhotra's worldview would have been, me intelligent, Bob the Builder thick, and poor old Asim. He's struggling to come to terms with reality, which is that he's the idiot in the room, not Bob the Builder. And, people like Malhotra, they probably did encourage not just ordinary people, but their own parents to take the Britney Spears, and it subsequently has killed them. Certainly killed his dad, I would say. And, just imagine what that does to somebody's mind. So I have sympathy for this bloke, but it just shows you how dangerous hubris is, like believing your own hype. And I think that's another characteristic of intelligent people, is that they question things, including themselves. They don't tend to be arrogant. They tend to be humble people. As the Bible says, the meek shall inherit the earth, and maybe this is what's happening now. So that's all I want to say. So this clear echoes back to what I said before about intelligence. Many intelligent people took it because they weren't intelligent after all. And many unintelligent people avoided it because they were intelligent. It's just that we've been misunderstanding the nature of intelligence for rather too long. And we've been associating it with a very narrow skill set, which is the ability to memorize information and spew it out again. And also the intellectual dishonesty. I think people with good qualifications, many of them are intellectually dishonest because they're happy to pass off other people's opinions, memorize it all, and then puke it out on an exam paper and pretend it's an objective fact when it's no such thing. So that's all that I want to say. So God bless.